going to introduce Dr. Pulkit Mathur. She is a professor and head of department of food and nutrition and food technology at Lady Irwin College at the University of Delhi. And amongst other subjects, her areas of expertise and education are advanced human nutrition and public health nutrition. She was part of the team which developed dietary guidelines for Indians. And Dr. Mathur, this is perhaps another topic for a different day and a different session, but an incredibly important one, which she developed together with the group at the National Institute of Nutrition at ICMR in Hyderabad. And she is also a national resource person for food safety and training certification for FSSAI, which is the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. So she really is an authority on food safety and nutrition. And to her credit, through her academic work, she has more than 80 publications, both in national and international journals and books and topics. So thank you so much, Dr. Mathur, for making the time to educate us on on a topic that I'll say is so much or ought to be so much in our lives, but rarely is. We are all eating every day. We are all buying food for our homes. We are perhaps buying foods for our establishments. For those of us that might be food professionals, we might be making decisions for buying food for workplaces even. And even though food labels have been around for such a long time and have continuously evolved, I can say for sure that a vast majority of the people that we know and the communities that we live in rarely spend any time reading labels. So, we believe that a good step amongst many others, but a good beginning is to start paying attention to the information that is available to us and is really meant to create transparency for consumers and is meant to help us make more informed decisions. Before I turn over to you, Dr. Mathur, I have just a few housekeeping kind of instructions. One of them is to please be on mute so that we can have a smooth and seamless session. Srijata and I will be also sort of muting people if we notice that your mic is on. We are recording the first part of this session when Dr. Mathur is really going to be speaking, and I'll do a little bit of moderation, not too much. And then we hope that we'll have some time towards the end for questions from the participant group, at which point we'll stop recording. And finally, since you've all made the time to be here, your feedback is really important to us. So as we get to the end of the session, we'll paste a feedback link in the chat, and we'd really appreciate it if you could take just a minute or two. It's very short to tell us what you thought. So with that, Dr. Mathur, over to you, and we'll let you share your screen as well.
Yeah, thank you, Priya, and thank you, foodwize, for inviting me here today. I'll be sharing my screen, and just as you mentioned, the reason why we really don't read food labels so much is because we are not real, it's so crowded, it's too much of writing, and we are more like, I'm going to buy this food because I find it tasty, rather than what this food has and what it's going to do for me. So these are some of the reasons why in many of our surveys we have kind of found that people go by taste, the people go by brand, and that's how most foods are picked up. So can you all see my slides?
Yes, we can see them.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to have, I'm going to show you a few slides because it's then easier to visualize what I'm talking about on the food label. And this is a session on basically understanding how we can read these food labels and we can select healthier foods from among the many which are available to us. So if you, first of all, what is this food label that we are talking about? So if we look at any food product, what a food label really is all that which is written on the outer covering of the package. So if it is, so this is a can that I'm showing you here, the PDP, or the principal display panel, is the label which companies design. If it is something like a box, then this is what a front of the box looks like. There can be information on the side of the box as well as on the back of the box. So it is a lot of written matter, really. And this is what a really crowded label looks like. And that kind of puts everyone off. The reason why it's so crowded is because by law, certain things are mandatory to be written on food labels. So the companies are also trying to, squeeze in all the information and put it right there. But this is something that we so selectively what you want to look at the label. Many people say that, we don't have the time, we don't have the energy or the will to, read through so much. So to that, my, reply is that you have to select a brand only one time, right? So when you go every time to the market to buy, you generally pick up the brands you have been using. So all you need to do is at a one time activity of thoroughly comparing different brands and then selecting a product which is likable to you in terms of taste. It is also healthy for you. So that's how at one time you select, and then you consequently subsequently, sorry, you keep on buying the same product. Or if a new product comes into the market and you want to evaluate it, then you must read the label that one time. It's not that every time you go you have to read all the labels. So it's not that cumbersome also. What do these labels really tell us? These labels tell us a number of things. Most of the time, people just compare either prices of the product, or at the most, you will look at the product to just see that it is, the expiry date or the best before date. And that's the two most common things that people check out on a label. But, and the third most common thing is to check whether it's a vegetarian product or not. These are the common things which people typically do check on a label. However, the other things that are there which you don't look at are the ingredients. What are the different ingredients that are there in the food product? Why do I need to look at the ingredients? Because the ingredients tell you whether it is a more nutritious product or it is not. So, for instance, if it is any product like a bread or something made with wheat flour, then I want to select something which has a whole wheat flour or an atta. So I prefer an atta bread to a maida bread because whole wheat flour is more nourishing. Whole grains are more nourishing than the refined grains or the refined products, for the simple reason that the fiber has been removed and many other nutrients get removed during the refining process. You may also want to check for harmful ingredients. So, for instance, I'm sure many of you know that trans fats are not good for you. How do we know? Even if you have not studied nutrition, it's you can see from the label of the food products, everyone will be declaring zero trans fat, no trans fat. Why are companies advertising that on the front of the packet? Because it is something bad and they don't want to tell people that they have, or they want to advertise. That's a selling point, that my product does not have any trans fat. So you would want to check out whether the products, so all bakery products would have a certain amount of trans fat, provided they are using things like hydrogenated vegetable oils in the preparation. And this includes very commonly eaten things like biscuits, breads. So how many of us have really checked the label of the biscuit that we are buying, the label of the bread that we are buying, to check if there are any trans fats in them? Okay, so a little more about that I'll talk a little later. But coming back to what all this is used for, sorry, this is used for, and the labels we can use for. You can check the products for the presence of the ingredients which are there, and these ingredients are typically written in the order in which of the quantity that they are present, in the food. So the one which is present in the maximum quantity would be written first, and then the subsequent ingredients. You may also want to check for if any of these ingredients you are allergic to. So, for instance, if you check for products which, so if you're allergic to, say, gluten, then you would definitely want to check out the label of a food product to see if any wheat is there. So similarly, there are other allergens, and it's a good to check the labels for these allergy points. Then you may also be wanting to eat fewer of food additives. Additives are chemicals which are being added to your food, and you may want to eat less of preservatives. You may want to eat less of artificial colors. Then looking at this food label will tell you whether these things are there in the food product or not. Then some people may be diabetic, some people may be in general for good health trying to avoid sugar. Again, the way to look for that is on the label. Is there any added sugar in the product, or has any artificial sweetener been added? Because most of these food products which say we have low calorie, or they say they are low sugar or zero sugar. So these are the products which are likely to have these artificial sweeteners. Then you may want to choose food products which have, for instance, I want to eat more fiber. So I may want to select food products which have a higher amount of fiber or a higher amount of protein or vitamins, calcium, any of these desirable nutrients which you may want to include more in your diet. You may have anemia and you may be wanting to look for foods which have a higher amount of iron in them. Or you may want to reject certain foods or brands which have high amounts of the nutrients which are not so good for health. So, for instance, I may be wanting to buy products which are low in fat, which are low in saturated fats, or cholesterol, or trans fat, or sodium, or sugar. So, these are all harmful nutrients if you eat them in too much quantity. So, I may want to look. So, again, you have to look at the label to know how much of fat and all these things are there. You may be also wanting to count your calories and other nutrients which are being contributed. So if I eat a packet of chips, how many calories did I eat? If I drank a bottle of cold drink, any soft drink, how many calories did I get? So I may just want to know how much I am eating. You may also want to choose appropriate serving sizes. Oh, I really like this food. However, it is high in calories. What amount should I eat so that I just get very few calories? So for all these reasons, you may be wanting to read a food label. Now, by law, so there is something called as a food safety and standards packaging and labeling regulation. The earlier regulation was of 2011, and recently this has been revised to include a number of things which were, which the nutritionists and the doctors and all were demanding that this should be written on the food label so that whoever is trying to avoid a particular kind of nutrient can get that much knowledge from the packet. So there have been a lot of changes in the regulations, and it was the industry was given time till 2023 to bring in all these changes on their food labels. So you will see a lot of packages changing because they have to incorporate all these new things. Some of these were there earlier as well. So a thing to check out and should be there on the label of your food product is the name and complete address of the manufacturer. Now, why is that important? That is important because this gives traceability to the product. Supposing that product is or not of a good quality and causes some kind of a foodborne illness, the authority should be able to track who manufactured that product. So people who follow substandard methods of production and all, they will refrain from putting their name and their complete address on the packet. So that is one thing which should definitely be there. So big companies obviously will all do it, but I'm talking more of the smaller scale sector, which is also huge and which is supplying food to even the supermarkets, and you're picking that food up. Then the net content by weight or volume has to be mentioned because you should know I'm paying this much and what is the quantity really that I'm getting. So when you compare prices, you should also compare what is the content. That means how much is. So sometimes they'll do a 750 ml and it is cheaper than the 1 liter one, but it is also 750 ml, but the size of the bottle kind of looks the same. So that's how a lot of marketing that's how the marketing is done for a lot of these products to visually, give that impression that it's actually the same amount and we are cheaper. Then you have the lot number or the batch identification number, which should again be there. And this is one more code which tells the authorities that if this batch is bad, then they recall that product from the market. So the lot number, the batch number is important. Now, many times what traders do is, if their food product is expired or the best before date has gone by, they generally put another sticker on it, and they'll write a new date on it, and sell it to you. And in that case, what they tend to do is they kind of smudge the batch number, so that nobody can trace it back and tell that this is coming from a much older batch, which is actually expired product. So date of manufacturing, packaging is important. So sometimes they write best before date, sometimes they'll say date of manufacturing, and then they'll say best before 6 months from the date of manufacturing. So this is written in two ways. Earlier it was called expiry date, but most food products will give you a best before date, and it is good to eat it before that date. So best before also does not mean that supposing today is the last day and I eat it tomorrow, then something bad is going to happen. So it's the quality actually deteriorates after that date, but many times it's okay to eat it for the next few days. But you have to see very carefully. If the product really has developed fungus and other things, obviously you can't eat it. But don't eat it for many days after the best before date, because then you're not really sure about how good that food product is anymore. The other thing you should look at is the storage instructions, and we kind of don't look at these for food products, because this is what the company is telling you. This is how you store my food product, otherwise it will get spoiled. We may follow our own, the way we have been storing that kind of a food product, which may not be the same as what the manufacturer wants you to do. And we must listen to the manufacturer, because he has judged his shelf life and safety all from the point of view of, if you store like this, then it will stay safe. If you store any other way, this food product may cause food poisoning. So it's important to follow this. If it says once you open refrigerate, you have to refrigerate. If it says once you open you have to freeze, then you have to freeze. So you have to follow whatever instructions the manufacturer is giving. Instructions for use are also there. So one is storage instruction, the other is instruction for use. So sometimes you'll see on frozen foods, do not thaw, just put it straight into the frying pan. Yes, we do see these kind of instructions, so we must again follow that. The problem is, if you don't follow, what happens? So if you thaw, for instance, a food product, then as you thawing is a long process. And in that, the microbes start multiplying. By the time you're ready to fry it and eat it, it has developed such a high load of these microbes or germs that it can again cause food poisoning. So very important to follow storage instructions. Very important to follow instructions for use, which are both given on the label. Then, of course, there are certain logos, and I'll show you those logos. And there are certain mandatory declarations which are there. So there are many mandatory declarations. I'll just give you some examples of this. But this is what a full label looks like. There will be nutrition facts which are given at the usually at the back of the label. There will be who markets it, who manufactures, or where it is packed. Then there will be information of, if you want to give us feedback, contact us at this point. You may see these recycling logos which are there. Then you have the main, the front of the pack, which is usually the most beautiful. They'll have nice pictures and all, and what the product is. You can also see a fortification logo. I'll show you bigger pictures of this. You can see this vegetarian logo. Then again at the back, you will find the maximum retail price, the batch number, the net quantity, when was it packed. It is best before 9 months, like this is an oil thing. It'll say best before so many months. From packaging, storage instruction is keep away from heat and light. And then you have this ingredient list. So this is, say, refined sunflower oil. It has permitted antioxidants. It has vitamin A, vitamin D, and this is what I said is a mandatory declaration. So for edible oils, the mandatory declaration is that they are free from argan oil. And the reason behind this is because argan oil is a toxic oil and it was used as an adulterant some for quite a few years. And sometime back in the 1990s, there was a huge outbreak in Delhi and many other parts of North India where mustard oil is used a lot. And this is actually an adulterant for mustard oil because the seed of this argan looks just like the mustard seed, and sometimes it is just because they are growing together and you harvest it together, and that's how the argan oil comes in. But many times it is an actual deliberate adulteration with argan oil, and that outbreak caused so many deaths and so much of disability in the population that that's when FSSAI, which is the Food Safety Standards Authority of India, brought in this rule that on the label of all edible oils, you will have to write free from argan oil. You just don't have to write, matlab, they have to test it also in their laboratory and make sure that the oil that they are selling does not have any argan oil. This is the, yeah, is there something?
No, no,
This is
sorry. I
the,
think that was me just listening to you. I'll go on mute. Sorry.
okay. And there is this FSSAI logo, which has a number under it, which is the license number, which is given to every company of which produces food. Coming back to the allergy information, which I was talking about. So again, you can see a very crowded label, and again, you wouldn't want to go through it. Most of it is information you don't really need, which is a whole lot of who is packing it and what are the different license numbers that they have. But here and who to contact and marketing and all. But what I'm trying to highlight is this little one line which says contains wheat, milk, and soya. So these are some of these common food allergies which people have, and these are the eight contaminants. Or not contaminants, I should call them allergens. These are the 8 allergens which have been identified by FSSAI, which have to be declared on the label. So wheat, fish, milk, eggs, peanuts, soybeans, tree nuts. So tree nuts would have all this almond and cashew, anything, any nut which grows on a tree. And that's why peanut is mentioned separately because that's a legume. And crustacean or shellfish, so prawns or anything, shrimps, because again, a lot of people are allergic to this. So if their food product has any of these, it has to be declared on the label, the allergy information. There is one more, which is called sulfite. It is a food additive. It's used as a preservative. It is also used as a bleaching agent. If sulfite is higher than about a certain amount, 10 ppm, if it is more than that in your food products, then they have to also declare that along with the allergy information, because a lot of people are allergic to sulfites. These worsens the asthma symptoms and the reactive airways diseases. So a lot of people who have asthma are told by their doctors not to have sulfite products and not to have even yellow color, which is tartrazine, the artificial color which is added to foods. So these are the other logos which kind of tell you about the quality of a product. They kind of assure a quality. So this is the FSSAI logo, and this you will see on all the packaged foods and beverages. ISI mark, the BIS symbol is there on packaged drinking water. It is also there on mineral water, and it is there by law on infant foods. Okay. For the others, it is a voluntary kind of a quality standard which is taken on. Then for all other agricultural products, you may, again, this is a voluntary, this is the AgMark logo. So spices and even anything which is made from fruits and vegetables. Earlier they used to have an FPO logo, but now that is no longer used. All those laws have been merged under the FSS Act. So you will only see FSSAI logo but any agricultural product, so attas and even spices and all, may go in for the ag mark, and that shows that this is a quality product.
Dr. Mathur, may I just ask
Yeah.
one question,
Yeah.
sort of maybe on
Yes.
behalf, because in the previous slide, I mean, the things we generally tend to buy at home in, say, large quantities on a regular basis, like wheat, rice, dals, those are, I mean, I was kind of thinking that those are agricultural.
Hmm.
If they have an FSSAI, it looks like they will definitely have an FSSAI logo, but if they also have the AgMark logo,
Ag mark.
is that a sign or something in particular? Or
Yeah, yeah. So they grade actually. So they'll give grades: A grade, B grade, A plus. So they give grades to the foods. So
right,
if people go in for this, they are actually, then they're confident of their quality, and
yeah,
they would want to showcase, oh, we are A grade and or A double A grade.
understood.
So you get a better assurance of quality, though not many companies go in. Mainly the spice companies go in for it. So you'll more likely to see this on the spice powders than the dal people or
Rice.
the rice people and all. But some companies do. So it's something, if they have gone in for it, that's an additional plus point, because they are confident that their product is of a good quality.
Understood. Thank you.
The other logos, now this is not by FSSAI, but these are accredited institutions which give these logos, which are HACCP logo. A HACCP logo can look anything like this, and this is basically giving you a. So HACCP is basically Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, which is a way in by which food companies manage the different kinds of hazards. Hazard is anything harmful which can get into your food product, which may be either a microbe, or it may even be a chemical kind of a contaminant. So they monitor the food product right from the beginning of purchase through the production line till the packaging and even delivery. So if they are claiming that they are a HACCP certified company, then they are following a very stringent food safety procedure for ensuring that your product is of a good quality. The other logos which can ensure that this company really follows good practices in their factories is the ISO 9001 certification, which is a quality management system, not particularly related to food, and many other companies can also take this on. Any manufacturing company can take it on, but ISO 22000 is very specifically a food safety management system. So if you see ISO 22000 certified company, then you're more sure about their quality management system, as well as more the safety management system, that they would be much more vigilant with the kind of food that they are giving you. Then there are many other logos you will see, and I'll take you through all of them. This first one is the indicates a vegan food. It's a green V with a little plant here. So if you are a vegan person, or you want to select vegan foods are those which will have nothing from the animal sources, not even milk and milk products. Right. So then this is the symbol that you look for. A simple vegetarian food product, which means that this food product has no animal flesh foods added to it, will have a green. So what is the difference between a vegan and a vegetarian logo? The vegan one will not even have any milk or milk products. Okay. And here, not even honey. So anything which is made from by the animal will not be there in a vegan product, whereas a vegetarian product could have milk and milk products and honey and other things which are coming from animals, but not flesh foods. Okay, no egg and no flesh food. This symbol, so it was a brown dot earlier, and now it's become a brown triangle. Something to do with the people who can then visually recognize it much better. Those who can't see color, can't distinguish between colors. So for them, it was both circles, and so they couldn't see whether it is vegetarian or not vegetarian. Hence, the non-vegetarian food logo has changed to a brown triangle. Then you have a box with a cross in it. This is very important. If you see this, then that product is not for human consumption. So sometimes they will be selling ghee for, putting in your diyas, just for burning purposes, and it's not edible. So uh, then they have to put this. Earlier they were not putting any symbol, and people were getting confused. Ghee hai to ghee hai, but maybe they have added some additives like kapoor and other things to give a better burning quality or something. So it was causing a problem, and people were eating it by accident because they are not able to read the label. So this symbol is then put for those kind of products. This is a radura symbol, and if you see this means that the food has been treated by irradiation. So that is done to increase the shelf life of things like potatoes and even onions and other things, other fruits and vegetables. It's a preservation technique. It is not really harmful. They follow all the precautions, but they have to declare this symbol on the packet if it has been irradiated. If it is not a packaged thing, then of course it is not applicable. But if it is a packaged thing and it has been irradiated, they have to put this and write other details under that. If you are looking for organic and you are not really sure whether this company is saying organic hai, asli mein hai ki nahi hai, because usually these products are all, literally double the price, then Jaivik Bharat logo, which is this green tick logo, is what you need to look for, because this is what FSSAI has made mandatory for anyone declaring that their product is organic. Lastly, this is the logo which is there for fortified food, plus F logo, and it will say Sampoon Poshan Swasth Jeevan, because basically we do have a lot of micronutrient or vitamin mineral deficiencies in the country, and what they've done is they have fortified some food products. Fortifying means additionally adding certain vitamins and minerals to food products, and all such food products will carry this plus F logo. So this is the FSSAI. They have a food fortification resource center, and they are encouraging people to buy fortified to make up for deficiencies. So rice and wheat flour, for instance, some of the companies are supplying you with fortified products. And what are they fortified with? They are fortified with iron and vitamin B12 and folic acid. Iron, as you know, is very important to fight anemia, which is lack of hemoglobin in the red blood cells. So it's very important to have iron every day in our diets. Folic acid is very, very important for all pregnant women, and for the development of this baby. In fact, anybody who's expecting should be or wanting to have a baby should actually start much before pregnancy by eating folic acid rich foods, because in the first month of pregnancy, if you are deficient in folic acid, it affects it gives birth defects to the baby. So otherwise, in pregnancy, these tablets are prescribed much later in the second trimester, by which time all the damage has been done. So this is a nutrient which is being pushed by the government because of the high incidence of neural tube defects which are there in children because of lack of folic acid in pregnant mothers. Vitamin B12 is the other nutrient. This is very important for the nerves. It is also important for blood formation. So the anemia that is seen in the country, it could be either because of iron deficiency or folic acid deficiency or B12 deficiency. Sometimes it could be a deficiency of all three as well. So if diets are really poor, that's why in all the fortified products, all three are being added, because we don't know what deficiency the person could be having. There is also your oil and the milk being fortified now, and that's being fortified with the fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A and vitamin D. Vitamin A is very important for your eye health, for your skin health, and vitamin D is important for the bones, because that is what helps you to absorb and utilize the calcium. Without vitamin D, even if you are able to absorb some amount of calcium, it will not even go into your bones. So the vitamin D always has to be consumed along with the calcium. And actually, vitamin D is synthesized by your skin if you expose it to the sun. However, with our kind of lifestyle, we are hardly exposing our skins to the sun. And that's why there's a lot of vitamin D deficiency. And that is why this decision was taken to fortify the milk and the oil with vitamin D. Then there is the salt, which is, you, as you know, already fortified with iodine, because iodine deficiency was a huge problem in our country, and we have controlled it simply because of compulsory fortification of all salt with iodine. But now they've come out with a double fortified salt, which has both iodine and it has iron. Iron will again fight anemia. Coming on to what are the declarations. So these are only 3 examples, but there's a whole list of declarations in the regulation. So if you're adding certain things to your food, you need to also declare and inform the consumer about it. So for instance, if people are adding monosodium glutamate, which is Ajinomoto, they have to put this declaration that this product has monosodium glutamate and it is not recommended for infants below 12 months of age. Why? Because we don't have studies to show safety of this product. So any product which has monosodium glutamate is not supposed to be fed to infants who are less than 12 months of age. Again, if a product has a non-calorie or an artificial sweetener, then they have to declare it and they have to give the name. This product has this sweetener. Also, if it is aspartame, now that this is a mandatory declaration that it is not recommended for phenylketonuria. This is a it's an inherited kind of disorder which is present from birth, and in this the child is not able to metabolize this. So aspartame is made of 2 amino acids, and the child is not able to digest. They are able to absorb it, but they are not able to metabolize it. So if it accumulates in the blood, it leads to other toxic effects in the child, and that's why this warning is there, because this is diagnosed since birth if you are a phenylketonuria. And then anything which has aspartame and also a lot of protein foods are forbidden for this child. Then for children in general, pregnant and lactating women in general, so this is all in case of if there is aspartame or a sulfame salt or a combination of both these, then that food label has to have this. So any food additive which can cause a problem, they will have to have a accompanying declaration of the food product, so that the general public is informed that if they have a certain problem, they should not be having this food product.
Dr. Mathur,
Yeah.
I just received a really good question from one of our participants, Shikha.
Sure.
So if you don't
Yeah.
mind, I'll interrupt you.
Yeah, sure.
It's on the fortification. And actually, fortification is quite a big topic, but I didn't want to digress too much.
Right.
The question is whether you have any knowledge on how the nutrient is selected. What fortification for what kind of product? For example, B12 is added in some things, but not in others. So she asks, why is B12 added in wheat, but not in oil? And, and I suppose as you respond to that question, whether there's any sort of common wisdom for, let's say, say somebody like me, I mean, I'm quite healthy, for example, but when I'm buying these products, is there any reason, is there any value in particular in choosing something that is fortified versus not fortified? But her question really is, how are these decisions made about what to add to what?
So these decisions are made based on a lot of factors, and first of them is technology. So B12, for instance, is a water soluble vitamin. So it's very difficult to add it to oil, because oil, as you know, so the solubility is going to be an issue. That is one of the reasons. The technology. Do we have the technology to add it to a particular food? The other point is that, how much of that food is going to be consumed, how much of that nutrient are we wanting to deliver. So that's why typically you will see the fortification by the government is on staples only, because these are consumed by everyone. across the income groups, across the region, entire country. These are food products which will be consumed by everybody. And that's why two cereals were chosen, because you have a northern belt, which is more of a wheat eating population. You have the southern belt, which is a more of a rice eating population. So that's why two cereals are chosen. Uh, so one is the technology and whether you are able to deliver. Two is which are the nutrients which are of concern, and we will choose only those and not arbitrary ke sare vitamin dal do, sare
Mm.
mineral dal do,
Yes.
because we don't want that kind of a situation also, that everyone is eating, all food products are fortified, and then you are reaching toxic levels because you are eating them from multiple sources.
Yeah.
As of now, nobody has shown any toxicity from eating fortified food, because these levels at which they are added is just about 30% of your requirement.
Mm.
But nobody should go berserk totally, that everything they want to eat, the total diet is fortified. That is also not needed. If you're eating a varied diet, if you are choosing from different food groups every day, so you should be eating all your food groups every day. You should be eating a variety of each food group. So if I just keep eating rice, and then I'll end up eating like 400 grams of rice, then that's a problem in many ways, not just from the point of
Yeah.
fortification.
Correct.
So we
Thank
have to choose wisely. Yeah. Okay, so what everyone should know is, as I said earlier, the list of ingredients is in descending order of quantity present in the food. So whatever is written, for instance, if a juice pack says sugar, water, juice concentrate, and artificial flavor, then from the three food ingredients which have gone in, I know that sugar is the maximum, and then it is water, and last it is juice concentrate, which means very small quantity. Now they've started insisting on saying exact percent बताइए कितना आप actual fruit डाल रहे हैं, because most of the time all the flavor that you're getting of the fruit is coming from the artificial flavor. The color that you have is coming from a artificial color and not from the real fruit. So nutrients which are present in the food you should know, which are the additives which have been used in preparation of your food product you should know. Now, what is the compulsory nutrition fact that is given? Now, this is at the back of the label, and I'll show you a few photographs of the same. Energy value is given of the food product in kilocalories. Then they have to give the protein content, the fat content. Earlier they just gave fat, but if the fat is more than a certain percent in the food product, then they have to give the breakup also. They have to give how much total fat, how much saturated fat, how much trans fat. And if it is a food product which has animal foods like milk and milk products, then they have to give the cholesterol content also. Then carbohydrate, earlier they just said total carbohydrate, but now they also have to give total sugar and added sugar. So total carbohydrates and total and added sugar. The difference between the two also I will explain. So total sugar is when, so supposing it has fruits in it. So fruits have natural sugar also. So total sugar will be the natural sugar of the food product and the added sugar. The added sugar is the chini, which you are additionally adding to the food product. All this has to be listed, and the quantity given in grams, and the sodium also. This is something new. Earlier they were not revealing how much sodium there was, and you know that sodium or salt is linked to hypertension. They were not providing with the sodium values. Now they have to. The amount of any other nutrient for which they are making a health or nutrition claim, they have to give the amount for it. Okay, the amount of vitamin mineral that are there, and they want to say my product is rich in calcium, then they better give the amount of calcium that is there in the food product. Now they need to make all these calculations per serving also. So I'll again show you where all these things are written on the label. But per serving, that means one serving of this food product, if I eat, because packets are huge and you're not going to eat the whole packet at one go. So the manufacturer has to say, this is my serving size. Then you will see that, okay, supposing it is 2 biscuits that he's saying, from a packet of biscuits, he's saying 2 biscuits is the serving size. Now you have to calculate, if I'm not eating 2 biscuits, I'm eating say 6 biscuits. then I will have to multiply whatever values are coming by 3 to arrive at actually how much did I eat. So that is now given. Earlier they were just giving it per 100 grams, and that was a even more difficult calculation, because what if the biscuits were only 80 grams and they are giving the value for 100 grams? First I calculate for 80 grams, then I find out how much one biscuit weighs, and then how many biscuits have I had. Nobody does those kind of calculations, right? So they have now made it mandatory that per serving size also you will give. So that's more easier to calculate. Okay, 2 biscuits mein itna hai, so if I eat 4 biscuits, then it will be double of this. Now, some of the foods are exempt from all this mandatory labeling business, and these are agricultural products which have been only minimally processed. So, if you're having wheat, or you're buying rice, or you're buying any cereal, or pulses, or fruits which are in a packet, then or they have only one ingredient. So, it is just apples in my packet. So if it is a single ingredient, then you don't have to calculate and do all this nutrition labeling. If the company does it, it's fine, but it is not mandatory. So for these, basically, you can only look for things like, so if I'm buying atta, or sorry, I'm buying any other grain product, then I look for, even for dals, there is this unpolished dal which is available, which is less processed than the other dal. So more the polishing, more the refining, lesser are the nutrients present in them. So nutrition, yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought I might ask anyway, because we are
Sure.
at 45. It's from Aditi. It's about MSG. Her question is that sometimes companies do not declare it directly. They use other names like yeast extract or ribonucleotides. I mean, is that accurate?
No.
And how
No.
how can consumers sort of become wiser to things like this?
No. So see, this monosodium glutamate thing it's naturally present in a lot of foods. So then it is not mandatory for them to declare it. Okay. And it is actually, we shouldn't be so afraid of it also. So all those studies which were earlier showing कि बहुत harmful है, it's now studies are not showing all those things. So it was more, the whatever was reported earlier was more individual kind of reactions, allergic reactions to certain things, rather than actual harm. So all those controversies have kind of gone away.
So basically, they are required to declare it if they are adding it.
Yeah, only as a salt. If they have added it as an additive, monosodium glutamate, only then they have to declare it.
Like, for example, the masala in the Maggi packet is likely to have it.
Yes, yeah, they are likely to have it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so these are the nutrition facts which you see, which I was talking about. And the things that you look at are ingredients and the order. So again, this food product, you can see sugar is the first one, which means mostly this product is made of sugar. Allergy information, the amount per serving. So serving size is given. They say 2 cakes. Servings in one container is 6. So if I eat the whole pack, I'm actually eating 6. Then they have given amount per serving. So one serving, which means 2 cakes have 270 calories and about 110 coming from fat. Then there is this concept of percent daily value, which I will tell you about. So they give it in grams, and they also give a percent daily value, which basically tells you how much of your daily requirement is being met from this food. This is what your wheat, your bread kind of back cover looks like. So again, your ingredients are here. So this is 100% atta bread, where wheat flour is 100%. But you really need to see whether it is like this, because on the front of the label, they may say 100%. But when you go back, and this is where you realize it is not, you should also look. So here it is edible vegetable oil which has been used, and typically it is palm oil which is used to replace the partially hydrogenated fat which was used earlier. So this is what your breads may say and what they should be. So if bread is claiming to be whole wheat bread, then it should have whole wheat flour atta, and the minimum amount of this atta has to be at least 75%. So you're not actually assured that it will be always 100%. The wheat bread. So sometimes they'll just say we have wheat bread or we have brown bread. It should also again have whole wheat atta. They can't just add color and claim it, put to maida and say it. So here at least 50% of it should be atta. White bread will have no atta. It is all pure maida. Multigrain bread, again, the problem was that what manufacturers were doing is that they were just sprinkling these multigrains on top and nothing was inside. So that also now the FSSAI is saying that minimum 20% of the grains have to be other than wheat if you're going to be calling it a multigrain bread. These are some other labels of popular snacks that people have. Again, so potatoes, oil, and they have to specify which one. Salt is there, no preservatives. So these are plus points when they are not adding additives to it. But this is what a typical label would look at: calories given, total fat, and the breakup of the fat given, saturated fat. So they can also split it up as polyunsaturated. So these are unsaturated fats, out of which MUFA is the better one. Trans fat, cholesterol. So they didn't have given cholesterol. So this is another misnomer thing, that all your vegetarian products which are not even using any animal foods are also claiming zero cholesterol, and everyone is so happy. Oh, zero cholesterol. Every packet of chip which is not having any milk or milk product or animal product is going to have zero cholesterol, and similarly on oils. So here, if I look at my facts label, if I start here, this is the serving size which is there. Then I check the calories. Then I look at nutrients which I should be limiting, which is total fat, cholesterol, sodium, and get enough of nutrients which are good for me, like fiber, vitamin A, C, calcium, whatever vitamin minerals are there. And this percent DV value, a very simple way to interpret it is, if it is less than 5, then that nutrient is low in the product. If it is more than 20%, then that nutrient is high in that product. So I will want my blue nutrients to be high. I would want my yellow nutrients to be low. So this is called the guidelines for daily allowance or daily value. Basically, they have calculated it based on a 2000 kilocalorie diet, and I already told you about this 5 and 20 rule. When we are eating out, and we are not eating from a packet, but we are eating out, the restaurant served menus, or we are ordering in food. A lot of menus now, by law, again, they are required to display at least the calories that are there in each dish. And your takeaway menus are now even giving you more details about the composition. So, for instance, calories, protein, carbs, fat, fiber, which is there in each dish. They have separate menu listings now for healthier food choices, which means less of fat and less of calories and more of these beneficial nutrients in them. So just as a recap, what are the nutrients I want to eat more of? I want more protein in my diet. I want more fiber. Omega-3 fatty acids are good fats. MUFA is good fat. Vitamins, minerals are all very good for you. But what do I want to eat less of? I want less of fat in my diet. I want less of saturated fat, less of trans fat. These are both linked to heart disease. I want less of cholesterol, again linked to heart disease. I want less of sodium or salt, again linked to hypertension or high blood pressure. And I want less of added sugar, because this is chini and again linked to diabetes. A little about food additives before I close. So these are chemicals which are having some sort of a technological function to perform. They may be coloring your food, sweetening your food, enhancing the flavor, thickening the food, a preservative, as an emulsifier added to food. Many. There are hundreds of food additives there. They are identified by the E number or the INS number. If you are curious as to what preservative has been added, all you have to do is Google INS this number or E this number, and Google will tell you which compound it is and how harmful or okay it is for you. One of them harmful ones, I'll give an example, is E250, which is sodium nitrite. It is added exclusively to processed meats. What are processed meats? These are your any meat products which are have undergone the curing process, like a ham or a salami or a sausage, and many of these meat products. So look out for E250. Why is that bad for you? Processed meat in general has come under the possible carcinogen category, which means it can cause cancer, linked to colon cancer specifically. All red meats have been linked to colon cancer, by the way. So these are food products which are everyday foods. These are once in a while foods and never binge eat foods. Especially try avoiding buying processed meat which has this added to it, because sodium nitrite added to it. Manufacturers are now choosing alternative preservatives rather than going in for nitrite. The health claims are the other things that you will see. So we'll see something like, oh, my product has calcium and vitamin D, it will prevent osteoporosis, or I have low sodium, it will prevent hypertension. So these are claims which are allowed to be made because the link is there, like salt, saturated fat, and blood cholesterol, and with the heart disease, potassium, and high blood pressure. This is the omega-3 which I was talking about, with blood cholesterol lowering effect, for dietary fiber with the lipid profile that lowers your blood lipids. So these are health claims which are allowed because these are known facts. For any other health claim, they are required to do particular studies and then bring it on to these claims. Some of these claims can mislead you. For instance, fat-free may not mean that it is totally calorie-free. It may have sugar and other things which are giving it calories, so you have to be careful. Sugar-free is also not always healthy because it may have these artificial sweeteners. We should avoid all kinds of food additives, literally. Not have too much of these processed foods which have a lot of food additives. Zero trans fat again may not mean zero, and if you see partially hydrogenated vegetable oil written in list of ingredients, then there is some amount of trans fat. Again, all vegetable oils are labeled cholesterol free. They are anyway cholesterol free. Does not make one oil better than the other. There are many ways which other countries are using, which is called nutrient profiling, where you see these kind of labels, where green is telling you that this is low in the food product, medium levels are indicated by orange, and high levels are indicated by red. So this makes it easier for the consumer to actually identify at a glance what is low and what is high in a product without getting into numbers. But they do also give the numbers for those who are specifically interested in numbers. And like this, many countries have a lot of these. So either they are using nutrition facts panel, which we have right now, or this, which is being used, this is called traffic light scheme, which is being used in UK a lot. Then you have a GDA format, which is not colored, but they are giving you the same values written over here. Or you have these simple logos of tick. So any product which has a tick has been labeled as healthy for you. This is what India is proposing. It's called the Indian Nutrition Rating, that out of a score of 5, they will give you stars. So whatever your score is, accordingly those stars will be colored, and by this you will be able to interpret. However, this is highly debated right now, with all nutritionists opposing it actually because of the way they are calculating it. And how the industry can actually misuse it. So this is right now under debate and not yet released.
This is a little bit like what you see on refrigerators and air conditioners. It looks so exactly like that.
Yeah, it's like an energy rating, but this is more calculation of what are the nutrients, what are the positive and the negative nutrients which are there, and so what is an average score which emerges from that. So a lot of these claims will be there. This is free, which means it's zero, low, or low, so many calories are low, or a small amount of a nutrient is present. These are different words which are used on labels, but basically these are all defined, and I won't take you through the levels because there's no way you can remember these numbers. But this is how nutrition claims are settled at the FSSAI label. So they have these guidelines that which product can claim I am low in energy. So for instance, if one product says I'm low in energy, then it should have less, not more than 40 kilocalories per 100 gram of a solid food. Okay. If I'm saying my product is fat free, then you can't have more than zero point 0.5 grams of fat per 100 grams of that food. Okay. Similarly for cholesterol, for saturated fat, for unsaturated fat, trans fat. So here, that's why I was saying that if it says trans fat 0 or trans fat free, it doesn't mean that it is 0, because the food can contain less than 0.2 grams of trans fat. Then it is allowed to use the term trans fat free. So you have to look for that a partially hydrogenated vegetable oil in the list of ingredients and just avoid that food. This is for vitamins and minerals. So if, for instance, one product is saying I'm high in calcium, then if it is high, then it should provide at least 30% of the requirement per 100 grams of solid. Then only it can say I'm high. If it says my product has calcium, that means it is saying it is a source of calcium. Then about 15% of RDA means your recommended daily allowance. What is recommended for an adult? 15% of it should be there in that food product, then only they can write that on the label. So for fiber also, if you're checking your breads or your biscuits and looking for a high fiber product or a product rich in fiber, then it should have at least 6 grams of fiber in 100 grams of that product. Okay, so healthy, I want to just end with this message that healthy food selection for the family is actually the first step in improving your own home food environment. By home food environment, I mean what is it that is readily available in your home. I want a snack. When I reach out for a snack, what is it that I am picking up? Am I picking up a roasted unsalted nut, or am I picking up a deep fried salted nut? So I have to choose, and I have to appropriately select and keep in my home food environment only healthy foods. If I want to reach out for a beverage, is it some chaach which I'm picking up, or is it fruit juice which I'm picking up, which I think is healthy, but it is not, because if I see the label, it is sugar first, then water, or water, sugar, and last may juice. And buying fresh and natural food, which is minimally processed. Minimally processed means it's just cleaning and sorting, and that's the way, this is the way for the best, which is best for your health, because the packaged foods, which are now called ultra processed foods, if they've undergone a whole lot of processing and they have a lot of food additives in them, are actually not good for your health. A world over, we are kind of moving towards minimally processed, freshly cooked. I know it is difficult, but we have to find ways to getting back to natural. Yeah, thank you so much. And any questions?